Well, blessed Monday to you as we come with your daily encouragement. Now, I know we've been going very slow in this chapter, but these are some of what I consider the heart of the book of Revelation. A lot of people like to get caught up in the seals and the trumpets, and we still have yet to hear from the seventh trumpet, and we'll be hearing from it very soon. But really, the longer focus needs to be on what is going on in heaven. And also, reminder that in chapter 10 now of the book of Revelation, John is not an observer but a participant. He ate the scroll that was sweet to his mouth and bitter to his stomach. And it was now he who is participating in the worship, and it is a call for us to participate in the worship of God. Now, what we have an image of is a temple, not just many places around in what we had at the beginning of the book, where we had 7 lampstands. We have a temple, and it is represented by 2 lampstands and 2 olive trees. And so those represent both a temple and a church. That is the faithful who have come together and have the world coming against them for a time and time and a half. And remember, that's that number 3.5 once again. Halfway through the tribulation, all of these things are taking place. Now, there was not complete victory. The people of the witnesses died. But we had a hopeful news here in verse 11. It says, but after 3.5 days, once again, not a full week, but 3.5 days, the breath of the life entered them, the witnesses. And what do we have for our gospel lessons? After 3 days, Jesus rose from the dead. So there is some continuity with that, although it was maybe a half day. And those who the breath of life entered them, and that's where, of course, from Genesis chapter 1, we understand that God creates life. And that's what we trust will happen at the end, is that God will create life from death, no matter what form we are, whether it be the dry bones of Ezekiel 37 or 38, God will enter. There is nothing stopping the witnesses and witness of God. Then they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, come up from here. Now, where have we heard this many times? In Ezekiel 37, 38, where God raises up the dry bones. Or even from Lazarus, where Jesus says to the tomb, come out. And the promise that God will do that for us the same. And they heard the loud voice from heaven, and that said, come up here. And they went up to heaven in a cloud, while the enemies watched them. So it is a taking up. Now, a lot of people will place rapture in between chapters 3 and 4 in the book of Revelation, and that interrupts the flow of it. Here, you actually do have a taking up, very similar to what we have in our Sunday reading from 1 Thessalonians 4, which traditionally has been the rapture. Now, I'm not arguing for the group that calls themselves mid-tribulation rapturists, although that is where they get their support, is that the rapture doesn't happen before the trouble starts. It happens in the midst of the trouble starting. But it is more importantly, whether we go by timetables or not, a reminder that the things of this life, whether it be war, whether it be insurrection or governments rising and falling, or whether it even be our health, all of those things are not factors in the timetable of God. God is the God of resurrection and of life. And so they heard with a loud voice, come up to heaven. And at that moment there was a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city fell. 7,000 people were killed in the earthquake, and the rest were terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. The second woe has passed. And remember, there is a third woe. And remember, we have all these woes that come. See, there's all intermingling of different types of things. There are 7 seals with 7 trumpets. There are the time and a half of three, and then there are the three woes that have come. And we had the woe back in one of the earlier chapters, so this is the second of that type of woes, worry. But we are not called to worry, we're called to trust in the Lord. And you see, the whole thing about these, now maybe you're getting confused, but the way this is being presented is a tapestry with a lot of details. When we look at a piece of art, we often notice that there is a skill and a pattern to how people either, if they're stitched it, I know my wife likes to do cross stitch. It's always patterns of how you do the crosses in the cross stitch. There's always a pattern to whether you're doing crocheting of some sort. I know my grandmother used to make doilies, and it is just a very beautiful pattern that comes out. But the technique comes in matters of 4 and 3s and 5s and other things. This is what the book of Revelation is trying to present in a very different way, the timeless message of Jesus Christ, and that we have things to look forward to even as we have trials and tribulations. Now, we haven't forgotten about the seventh trumpet. We had 6 before, and that came out of the seventh seal before the seventh seal was revealed. So that pattern hasn't been lost yet, but we will have it in groups of 3, because not only are there 7 seals, 7 trumpets, but there will be 7 bowls of wrath that come later. Groups of 7, 3 times. Time and a half, and other threes and 7s, and all the other fun things that go along with this book. So hold on to your horses and keep your interpretations open to when and how they are going to be taking place. But more importantly, just keep your eyes on the Lord, who promises to come and bring things to completion. God bless you today. We trust that these continue to be words of encouragement. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.